Hello fellow CGS 3095 Technology in the Global Arena classmates. I'm Barbara Charles. And before we begin, I would like to thank you for choosing this video as one of the ones you evaluate. I know you had several to choose from, so I'm happy you chose mine. And hopefully I give you some information you didn't previously have and maybe provide you with a little bit of entertainment during this presentation. Now, my topic is going to be on smart meters versus privacy. The flow of today's presentation is going to go as follows. First, we're going to discuss the general issue that our society faces with technology and privacy. Then we're going to look at more specific example by evaluating analog and smart meters. Then we're going to look at the ethical dilemma that implementing smart meters present us. Then we're going to describe the ethical tests in which we are going to use to determine whether or not the implementation of smart meters is a morally correct action by utility companies. And then we're going to conclude the presentation. The issue. The main issue is that we live in an American society that seems to hold two ideas as true, self-evident, God-given rights, and that's autonomy and privacy. Yet, our 21st century life embeds technology into the cornerstone of our daily lives. Technology which, with every new advancement, seems to just quickly chips away at these sacred values that we hold so dear. So the question I put before you today is whether or not the benefits of the conveniences technology advancement provides us in our daily lives is greater and therefore outweigh the benefits of maintaining certain fundamental core values that have shaped our society. And to look at this, we're going to use analog and smart meters. So what are analog and smart meters? Analog meters, or kilowatt meters, both measure the electricity consumption of consumers. The analog meters picks up on the electromagnetic fields, EMF, given off by currents passing through the conductors and uses it to generate a turning motion, which then is reduced using a series of gears to turn dials that record the kilowatt hour passed through the meters. Utility companies then have to send someone out to read the meter to bill you for your energy consumption. Smart meters, on the other hand, uses wireless radios to transmit the data about consumption and can generate readings as frequently as 15 minutes in some cases. Now, the issue that people are having with smart meters is the fact that it also provides two-way communication capabilities. This means that companies operating the new meters will not only be able to receive information from the meters, but can send commands and get a response back. Now, with any new technology, of course, there are pros and cons to implementing it. Some of the pros to implementing smart meters is the fact that it allows you to track your consumption in real time. This means that instead of paying an average rate, consumers can now pay for the actual electricity that the electricity price for the electricity that they actually use. Another great thing about smart meters, even though it's not applicable now, but theoretically, consumers would be able to program their smart appliances, their thermostats, to turn on during the nights or weekends when power is cheapest, just like businesses do. And according to the MIT Technology Review, this can ultimately reduce the overall demand on electricity in certain states like Maine, where residents only use about a third of the power that is actually supplied. Now, of course, with every pro, there comes a couple of cons. And one of the cons to the implementation of smart meters, the big one actually, is the fact that it invades consumers' privacy. It seems it provides long-term data on consumers that can essentially be sold to third parties. And even though it may not seem at a glance, but energy consumption information can actually reveal a lot about the person or household in which is being monitored. Theoretically, it is possible to deduce what is happening in someone's home with this information. Information such as what appliances are being used, how many people actually live there, what are the schedules they keep. And in 2011, the University of Washington showed that with only electrical signatures, they could determine if a TV in a household was playing Shrek 2 or The Lion King. So how do we decide whether or not this is a morally correct course of action, the implementation of smart meters? Well, the test we're going to use falls under the consequentialist theory. The consequentialist theory basically states that an action is morally right simply, you can determine whether an action is morally right or wrong simply by determining the cost benefit of the consequences of that action. Now, the more specific example of consequentialist theory that we're going to look at is utilitarianism, which basically states that an action is morally right if it does the most good for the most people. So what you have to ask yourself is, are the consequences of implementing smart meters more favorable or unfavorable to everyone? In conclusion, of course, there are good reasons for implementing smart meters. Of course, it can save both companies and consumers money. They are more efficient than the old analog meters, okay? And they do provide two-way communication, which means that if you happen to be late on your bill and your power does get cut off, you no longer have to wait that 24 hours for a technician to come out and reinstall your power. It can happen instantaneously. But of course, there are also good reasons against implementing smart meters. And the most evident one is that it invades consumers' privacy. Third parties can essentially have access to sensitive information. And also, it provides two-way communication. Essentially, you can be hacked. But with all things, the choice is yours. You can determine whether or not you want smart meters to be implemented, because you can opt out of them actually being put on your residential home. The utility companies will simply charge you an extra fee for that. Again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to watch this video. Hopefully you were provided with some information that you didn't have before. And see you guys in class.